Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Tonight I'm diving into some absolutely wild stories from the Am I the Bad Person subreddit that'll make you question everything you thought you knew about family loyalty, friendship, and basic human decency. I've got a collection of stories here that range from heartbreaking to infuriating to just plain bizarre. Before we jump in, make sure to leave a like on the video and comment where you're watching from. If you haven't subscribed yet, be sure to, as I narrate stories just like these every evening. Anyway, grab whatever, get comfortable, and well, prepare yourself. Let's start with a story that is probably one of the most insane stories I have ever read. Am I the bad person for kicking my cousin out of my wedding party? I'm 25 and getting married in 3 months to my fiancé, David. We've been together for 4 years, and I'm so excited to finally be his wife. When I first started planning the wedding, I asked my cousin Michelle to be my maid of honor. She's 27 and we've been close since childhood. She was thrilled and immediately started talking about how she was going to make this the most amazing wedding ever. At first, Michelle was the perfect maid of honor. She helped me pick out my dress, organized my bridal shower, and even created a group chat for all the bridesmaids to coordinate everything. I was so grateful to have her taking charge and making sure all the details were handled. She seemed genuinely excited about my wedding and kept saying how honored she was to be part of such a special day. But then, things started to get weird. About 2 months ago, Michelle began making comments about how she thought some of my wedding choices were basic or boring. She'd say things like how my dress was pretty but maybe too simple, or how my flower arrangements were nice but not very unique. At first I thought she was just trying to be helpful by offering suggestions, but the comments kept getting more frequent and more critical. Then Michelle started suggesting changes to things that were already decided and booked. She said my venue was too traditional and that I should consider switching to this more modern place she'd found. When I explained that we'd already paid deposits and signed contracts, she said that was unfortunate, but that a truly memorable wedding required sacrifices. She started sending me pictures of other weddings she'd seen on social media, pointing out all the things they did better than what I had planned. The situation got more uncomfortable when Michelle began inserting herself into decisions that weren't really her responsibility. She called my florist directly to ask about changing my bouquet design without telling me. She contacted the DJ to suggest different music for the reception. When I found out about these calls, Michelle said she was just trying to help make sure everything was perfect. She said that as maid of honor, it was her job to handle these kinds of details. I told Michelle that I appreciated her enthusiasm, but that I was happy with the choices David and I had made. I explained that we'd spent months planning everything and that we didn't want to make major changes so close to the wedding date. Michelle seemed frustrated and said she was just trying to save me from having a forgettable wedding. She said she'd been to lots of weddings and knew what worked and what didn't. Things came to a head 3 weeks ago when Michelle announced that she'd taken the liberty of booking a photographer for my wedding. She said my original photographer style was too dated, and that this new person would create much more artistic and memorable photos. The problem was that I'd already paid my photographer in full and loved her work. I'd specifically chosen her because her style matched exactly what David and I wanted. When I told Michelle she needed to cancel the photographer she'd hired, she got really upset. She said I was being stubborn and ungrateful for all the work she'd put into improving my wedding. She accused me of not trusting her judgment and said that she was only trying to help me have the wedding of my dreams. She said that my original photographer was amateur and that I'd regret not upgrading when I saw my wedding photos. I explained that the wedding of my dreams was exactly what David and I had already planned, not some completely different event that Michelle had envisioned. I told her that I needed her to stop making changes and just focus on her responsibilities as maid of honor, like organizing the bachelorette party and helping with day of coordination. Michelle said I was being controlling and that I wasn't letting her fulfill her role as maid of honor properly. She said that part of being maid of honor was making sure the bride had the best possible wedding, even if that meant making tough decisions. She accused me of being too emotional and stressed to make good choices about my own wedding. The final straw came last week when I found out that Michelle had been talking to my other bridesmaids about staging what she called an intervention. She'd been telling them that I was making terrible choices for my wedding and that they needed to help convince me to listen to her suggestions. She'd created a whole presentation with pictures of other weddings showing what she thought I should do instead. When my bridesmaid Sarah told me about this planned intervention, I was furious. I called Michelle immediately and told her that she was fired as my maid of honor. I said that she'd completely overstepped every boundary and that I couldn't trust her to respect my wishes for my own wedding. Michelle completely lost it. She started crying and said I was ruining our relationship over a stupid wedding. She said she'd put hundreds of hours into planning and that I was throwing away all her hard work. She accused me of being a bridezilla and said that I'd regret this decision for the rest of my life. She said that without her help, my wedding was going to be a disaster. I told Michelle that her help had become more stressful than helpful, and that I needed someone in my wedding party who would support my choices instead of trying to change everything. She said that I was being ungrateful, and that she'd only been trying to save me from making mistakes I'd regret forever. Michelle has been texting me constantly since then, alternating between apologizing and attacking me. She's sent long messages explaining why each of her suggestions would have made my wedding better. She's also been posting passive-aggressive things on social media about how some people don't appreciate the people who care about them most. The rest of my family is divided on this situation. Some relatives think Michelle was just trying to help, and that I overreacted by kicking her out of the wedding party. They say family should forgive each other, and that I should give her another chance. Others think Michelle was completely out of line, and that I made the right decision to protect my wedding day. My mom thinks I should try to work things out with Michelle because family relationships are more important than wedding drama. But David completely supports my decision and says that Michelle was trying to hijack our wedding and make it about her vision instead of ours. My future mother-in-law also thinks I did the right thing and says that Michelle's behavior was inappropriate for a maid of honor. I've asked my best friend from college to step in as maid of honor, and she's been amazing so far. She's focused on supporting my choices and making sure I have everything I need for the wedding I actually want. It's been such a relief to have someone in that role who respects my decisions, but I still feel terrible about the family drama this has caused. Michelle was supposed to be one of my closest relatives standing beside me on my wedding day, and now she won't even be at the wedding. Several family members have said they're disappointed in how I handled the situation, and that I should have been more patient with Michelle's suggestions. That's the end of that story. Michelle basically tried to plan her own dream wedding using someone else's budget and venue, then acted shocked when the actual bride didn't want to be a guest at her own ceremony. The manipulation and boundary stomping here is absolutely unhinged. Wedding planning really brings out people's true colors. And Michelle showed she cared more about getting credit for a perfect wedding than actually supporting her cousin. Let's move on to another family drama that involves money, guilt trips, and seriously questionable priorities. Am I the bad person for not paying for my nephew's private school? I'm 32 and work as a software engineer, making a pretty good salary. I don't have kids of my own yet, but my brother Tom has an 8-year-old son named Dylan, who I absolutely adore. I've always been the fun uncle who spoils Dylan with gifts and takes him on special outings when I visit. My brother and his wife Lisa have always struggled financially. Tom works in retail management, and Lisa does part-time administrative work, so their household income is pretty limited. They live paycheck to paycheck and are always stressed about money. I've helped them out a few times over the years with things like emergency car repairs and medical bills, usually a few $100s here and there. About 6 months ago, Tom called me with what he said was an incredible opportunity. He'd learned about this prestigious private school in their area that has an amazing academic program and small class sizes. He said Dylan was really smart and that this school could help him reach his full potential. The problem was that tuition was $15,000 per year, which was completely out of their budget. Tom asked if I would consider paying for Dylan's private school education. He said it would be an investment in Dylan's future and that the opportunities this school provided could change his entire life trajectory. He pointed out that I don't have kids of my own to spend money on and that helping Dylan get the best possible education would be a meaningful way to use my financial resources. I told Tom I needed time to think about it. $15,000 a year would be a significant expense for me. And if Dylan went to this school from 3rd grade through high school graduation, we'd be talking about over $150,000 total. That's not pocket change, even with my salary. I spent a lot of time researching the school and thinking about whether this was something I wanted to commit to. The school did have excellent ratings and a great track record of getting students into top colleges, but I also looked into the public schools in Tom's district and found that they were actually pretty good too. Dylan's current elementary school had solid test scores and offered plenty of extracurricular activities. After a few weeks of consideration, I decided I wasn't comfortable making such a large financial commitment. I called Tom and explained that while I wanted to support Dylan's education, paying for private school wasn't something I could take on. I offered instead to help with things like tutoring, educational summer camps, or college savings contributions that would be more manageable for my budget. Tom was really disappointed with my response. He said he'd been hoping I would see this as an opportunity to make a real difference in Dylan's life. He pointed out that $15,000 wasn't that much money for someone with my income, and that I spent more than that on vacations and hobbies each year. Lisa got involved and was even more direct about their disappointment. She said Dylan's education should be a priority for the whole family, and that my refusal to help showed I didn't really care about his future. She pointed out all the times they'd included me in family holidays and special occasions, making it sound like I owed them something in return. The pressure really intensified when Tom started involving other family members in the conversation. He told our parents about the private school opportunity and how I'd refused to help pay for it. My mom called me to express her disappointment, saying that families should help each other out and that Dylan's education was an investment in the family's future. My dad was more understanding of my position, but he also suggested that maybe I could compromise by paying for just a few years of private school instead of the full program. He said that even a couple of years at a better school might give Dylan advantages that would last a lifetime. Tom and Lisa started sending me articles about the importance of early childhood education and how private schools provide opportunities that public schools simply can't match. They highlighted statistics about college acceptance rates and lifetime earning potential for private school graduates. They made it clear that they thought I was being selfish by not helping Dylan access these advantages. The situation got more uncomfortable when Tom started making comments about my lifestyle choices. He said I spent thousands of dollars on electronics, travel, and eating out, but I wouldn't invest in my nephew's future. He pointed out that I'd recently bought a new car and renovated my kitchen, suggesting that I obviously had money to spare but was choosing to spend it on myself instead of helping family. Lisa started making passive-aggressive comments about how some people forget what's really important once they start making good money. She'd post things on social media about the importance of family support and how devastating it was when relatives with means wouldn't help children in need. The guilt campaign reached its peak when Tom brought Dylan to see me and had him ask directly if I would help pay for his school. Dylan said his parents told him this special school would help him become really smart and successful, and he asked why I didn't want to help him. It was obvious that Tom and Lisa had coached him on what to say, and using Dylan to manipulate me felt really unfair. I tried to explain to Dylan that there were lots of ways to get a great education, and that his current school was actually really good too. I told him I would always support his learning in other ways, like helping with homework or taking him to museums and educational activities. But Tom interrupted and said that wasn't the same as giving Dylan the best possible start in life. The conversation got heated when I pointed out that there were lots of successful people who went to public schools and that private school wasn't a guarantee of success. Tom said I was making excuses and that anyone who really cared about Dylan's future would want to give him every possible advantage. I finally told Tom and Lisa that I wouldn't be changing my mind about the private school funding, but that I was happy to contribute to Dylan's education in other ways. I offered to set up a college savings account and contribute a reasonable amount each year, or to pay for educational enrichment activities like tutoring or special programs. But Tom and Lisa weren't interested in alternatives. They said that college savings wouldn't help Dylan get into a good college if he didn't get proper preparation in elementary and high school. They accused me of being cheap and selfish, and said they were reconsidering whether they wanted me to be such a big part of Dylan's life if I wasn't willing to invest in his future. Since then, Tom and Lisa have been distant and cold toward me. They've stopped inviting me to family gatherings and haven't brought Dylan to visit like they used to. When I've reached out to suggest spending time with Dylan, they've been non-responsive or made excuses about being too busy. My parents are caught in the middle and keep suggesting that I should reconsider my position. They say that family relationships are more valuable than money and that I might regret not helping Dylan when I had the chance. But they also acknowledge that $15,000 a year is a lot of money to commit to. Some of my friends think Tom and Lisa are being completely unreasonable and manipulative. They point out that Dylan's education is ultimately his parents' responsibility, and that expecting an uncle to pay private school tuition is asking way too much. Others think that since I can afford it and don't have kids of my own, maybe I should consider helping out. The whole situation has been really painful because I love Dylan and want him to succeed. But I also feel like Tom and Lisa are trying to guilt me into a massive financial commitment. I worry that if I give in to this pressure, they'll expect me to pay for other expensive things in the future too. That's the end of that story. Tom and Lisa basically decided their financial problems should become their brother's responsibility and use their kid as emotional ammunition when he said no. The manipulation tactics of involving the whole family and coaching Dylan to ask directly is absolutely disgusting. Being a supportive uncle doesn't mean you're obligated to fund someone else's parenting choices, especially when we're talking about over $150,000. Moving on to another living situation nightmare that'll make you grateful for your current roommates. Am I the bad person for changing the locks on my roommate? I'm 26 and rent a 2-bedroom apartment with my roommate Kevin, who's 24. We've been living together for about 10 months, and overall it's been okay. But there's been an ongoing issue that finally came to a head last week. Kevin has this girlfriend named Ashley who basically lives at our apartment even though she's not on the lease and doesn't pay rent. She started staying over occasionally about 4 months ago, which I didn't mind, since we all got along fine. But gradually, Ashley began spending more and more time at our place, until she was essentially living with us full time. Ashley keeps her clothes in Kevin's room, uses our kitchen and bathroom like she lives there, and has even started receiving mail at our address. She's taken over half the space in our shared refrigerator, and has her own shelf of toiletries in the bathroom. She's basically moved in without anyone discussing it, or making any changes to our rental agreement. At first, I tried to be cool about it because I liked Ashley and didn't want to create drama, but I started getting frustrated when our utility bills went up significantly and Kevin didn't offer to adjust how we split the costs. Our electric bill increased by about 40% and our water bill doubled, but Kevin kept paying exactly half like he had before Ashley moved in. I brought up the utility situation with Kevin about 2 months ago. I suggested that since Ashley was using our electricity, water, and gas every day, maybe we should split the bills 3 ways instead of 2. Kevin got defensive and said Ashley didn't really live there since she technically still had her own apartment. He said she was just spending more time at our place because it was more convenient. I pointed out that Ashley was clearly living with us regardless of what apartment was officially hers, and that her daily presence was affecting our household expenses. Kevin said I was being petty about money, and that the increase in bills wasn't really that significant. He suggested I was trying to make Ashley feel unwelcome. The utility issue was just the beginning of my problems with this arrangement. Ashley started treating our apartment like her own place, rearranging furniture in the living room and kitchen without asking. She'd use my dishes and cookware and leave them dirty in the sink for days. She took over the common areas for her work calls and online classes, making it difficult for me to use the spaces I was paying for. The bathroom situation became particularly frustrating. Ashley would spend over an hour in there every morning doing her hair and makeup routine, which made it impossible for me to get ready for work on time. When I asked Kevin if they could coordinate their schedules better so I could have access to the bathroom, he said I needed to be more flexible and understanding. Ashley also started inviting friends over without checking with me first. She'd have people over for dinner parties or study groups, treating our apartment like her own social space. When I mentioned that I wished she'd give me a heads up when she was having guests, Kevin said I was being controlling and antisocial. The breaking point came 3 weeks ago when I discovered that Ashley had given a key to our apartment to her sister. I came home from work to find a stranger sitting in our living room watching TV. When I asked who she was, she introduced herself as Ashley's sister and said Ashley had told her she could hang out there while Ashley was at class. I was furious that a complete stranger had access to our apartment without my knowledge or consent. When Kevin and Ashley came home, I told them this was completely unacceptable. I said that giving apartment keys to other people without discussing it with all the tenants was a serious violation of trust and security. Ashley got defensive and said her sister was trustworthy and that it wasn't a big deal. She said I was being paranoid and overreacting to a simple favor. Kevin supported Ashley and said I was making a huge deal out of nothing. I told them that it wasn't about whether Ashley's sister was trustworthy, but about the fact that I hadn't agreed to let additional people have access to our apartment. I pointed out that our lease probably prohibited making copies of keys for people who weren't on the rental agreement. Kevin said I was being rigid and unwelcoming, and that Ashley was essentially part of our household, so it made sense for her to be able to let family members use the space. He accused me of trying to control who could visit our apartment. After that conversation, I realized that Kevin and Ashley didn't see anything wrong with their behavior and weren't going to change. I decided I needed to protect myself and my belongings, since they clearly didn't respect boundaries or lease agreements. I contacted our landlord to discuss the situation and learned that having an additional person living in the apartment without being on the lease was indeed a violation of our rental agreement. The landlord said that if Ashley was going to continue living there, she needed to be added to the lease and go through the proper application process. When I told Kevin about my conversation with the landlord, he got really angry. He said I was being spiteful and trying to cause problems for him and Ashley. He accused me of going behind his back instead of working things out as roommates. I explained that I'd tried to work things out for months, but that giving apartment keys to unauthorized people was where I drew the line. I told Kevin that Ashley either needed to be added to the lease or needed to stop living at our apartment. Kevin said they'd think about it, but days went by without any progress. Ashley continued living there full-time, and her sister still had a key. I realized that they had no intention of changing the situation. Last Monday, while Kevin and Ashley were both out, I had our locks changed. I left Kevin's new key in an envelope on his bed, with a note explaining that I'd changed the locks for security reasons, and that unauthorized key copying was unacceptable. When Kevin came home and found that his old key didn't work, he completely lost it. He started banging on the door and yelling about how I had no right to lock him out of his own apartment. When I let him in, he was furious about the lock change. Kevin accused me of being vindictive and controlling, and said changing the locks without telling him was illegal. He said I'd violated his tenant rights and that he was going to talk to the landlord about my behavior. I told Kevin that I'd changed the locks because he and Ashley had compromised our security by making unauthorized copies. I said that as long as he was the only one with access to the new key, there wouldn't be any problems. Kevin said this was about more than just the locks, and that I was obviously trying to force Ashley out because I didn't like her. He accused me of being jealous and antisocial, and said I couldn't handle him having a serious relationship. Ashley showed up a few hours later and was also furious about the lock situation. She said I was being hostile and trying to make her feel unwelcome in what had become her home. She accused me of being passive-aggressive instead of communicating directly about problems. I told Ashley that the apartment had never been her home since she wasn't on the lease, and that the problems I'd communicated about had never been addressed. I said that making unauthorized keys was the final straw. Since then, Kevin and Ashley have been cold and hostile toward me. They've been having loud conversations about how unreasonable and controlling I am, clearly intended for me to overhear. Kevin has been making passive-aggressive comments about the lock change and threatening to move out when our lease is up. Yesterday, Kevin told me he's looking for a new place and will be moving out as soon as he can find something. He said living with someone so inflexible and paranoid isn't worth it. He accused me of ruining our living situation over petty issues. I feel bad that our roommate relationship has deteriorated so badly, but I also feel like I had to protect my own interests when Kevin wouldn't respect basic boundaries. Some of my friends think changing the locks was extreme, while others think Kevin and Ashley were taking advantage of me for months. That's the end of that story. Kevin and Ashley basically pulled a slow-motion move-in scam, gradually taking over the apartment until she was living there rent-free with her own key distribution system. The fact that they gave keys to unauthorized people and then acted shocked when their roommate took security measures shows they never respected the living arrangement. Sometimes you have to take dramatic action when people refuse to respect basic boundaries. Let's dive into another friendship disaster that involves betrayal and seriously questionable loyalty. Am I the bad person for telling everyone about my friend's secret? My best friend Jenna and I have been close since high school, about 7 years now. We've always shared everything with each other, and I considered her one of the most trustworthy people in my life. She's been there through all my major relationships, family drama, and career changes. I thought we had the kind of friendship where we could count on each other no matter what. About 8 months ago, Jenna started dating this guy Marcus, who she met through a dating app. She was really excited about him from the beginning, saying he was different from the usual guys she dated. Marcus seemed charming and successful, and Jenna was clearly falling hard for him. She'd spend hours talking about their dates and how perfect he seemed. What Jenna didn't know was that I recognized Marcus from my own dating app experience. About 2 years ago, I'd gone on 3 dates with him before things fizzled out. It wasn't a serious relationship or anything dramatic, but we definitely spent time together and I remembered him clearly. He'd seemed nice enough, but I hadn't felt a strong connection, and we'd mutually decided to stop seeing each other. When Jenna first started talking about Marcus, I wasn't sure if I should mention that I dated him before. It felt awkward to bring up, especially since it was such a brief thing and happened so long ago. I decided not to say anything because I didn't want to make things weird between us or interfere with her happiness. I figured it was in the past and didn't really matter. But as Jenna's relationship with Marcus got more serious, I started feeling uncomfortable about keeping this secret. She was talking about introducing him to her family and making long-term plans. I worried that she might find out about my history with him from someone else, which would be even more awkward. About 4 months ago, I decided I needed to tell Jenna the truth. I asked her to meet me for coffee and explained that I'd briefly dated Marcus a couple of years before she met him. I made it clear that it wasn't anything serious and that I was happy she'd found someone who made her happy. Jenna's reaction was not what I expected. Instead of being understanding, she got really upset and accused me of keeping important information from her. She said she felt betrayed that I hadn't told her immediately when she first started dating Marcus, She said she couldn't believe I'd let her go on for months talking about him without mentioning our connection. I tried to explain that I hadn't told her right away because I didn't think it was a big deal, and I didn't want to interfere with her new relationship. I said I'd only gone on a few dates with Marcus and that it was ancient history. But Jenna said the duration didn't matter and that she had a right to know about any connection between me and her boyfriend. Jenna became obsessed with getting details about my dates with Marcus. She wanted to know exactly what we'd done together, whether we'd been physical, and why things had ended between us. I told her I didn't think rehashing those details would be helpful for anyone, but she said she needed to know everything to understand the situation. The conversation got really heated when Jenna accused me of still having feelings for Marcus and potentially trying to sabotage her relationship. She said my decision to keep quiet about dating him seemed suspicious and manipulative. I was shocked by these accusations because I genuinely wanted Jenna to be happy and had zero interest in Marcus romantically. Over the next few weeks, Jenna became increasingly paranoid about my friendship with Marcus. She started questioning whether I'd been flirting with him when we all hung out together. She analyzed every conversation I'd had with him, looking for signs that I was trying to undermine their relationship. Jenna also started telling Marcus about our argument and my history of keeping secrets from her. She painted me as untrustworthy and manipulative, suggesting that I couldn't be relied upon to be honest with the people I cared about. Marcus began treating me coolly when we were all together, clearly influenced by Jenna's interpretation of the situation. The friendship between Jenna and me became really strained. She'd make passive-aggressive comments about people who lie to their friends and how important honesty is in relationships. She started excluding me from group activities and would make plans with our mutual friends without inviting me. About 2 months ago, the situation reached a breaking point when Jenna told me she was thinking about ending our friendship. She said she couldn't trust someone who would keep such important information from her. She accused me of being a fake friend who pretended to care while hiding things that affected her life. I was devastated by the possibility of losing such a long friendship over something that had happened years before I even knew she existed. In a moment of anger and hurt, I told Jenna something I'd been keeping secret for her sake. About a year ago, Jenna had cheated on her previous boyfriend Jake with a coworker. She'd confided in me about the affair and begged me not to tell anyone because she was ashamed of what she'd done. She'd broken up with Jake shortly after and never told him about the cheating. I'd kept her secret because she seemed genuinely remorseful, and I wanted to support her through a difficult time. When Jenna was attacking my trustworthiness and calling me a fake friend, I lost my temper and brought up her cheating. I said it was hypocritical for her to question my loyalty when she'd asked me to lie for her about something much worse than briefly dating someone years ago. Jenna was furious that I'd brought up the cheating incident. She said that was completely different because she'd trusted me with something private and difficult, while I'd hidden information that directly affected her current relationship. She said comparing the two situations showed how manipulative I was. The argument escalated when Jenna said she was going to tell everyone in our friend group about how untrustworthy I was. She said she needed to warn people about my tendency to keep secrets and lie to friends. I was so angry and hurt that I told her if she was going to spread lies about me, I'd tell people the truth about what kind of person she really was. That's when I made the decision I'm now questioning. I told several of our mutual friends about Jenna's cheating on Jake. I explained the whole situation, including how she'd made me promise to keep it secret and then attacked my character when I didn't immediately tell her about briefly dating her current boyfriend years ago. The reaction from our friend group was swift and dramatic. Most people were shocked to learn about Jenna's affair, especially since Jake was well liked in our social circle. Several friends said they were disappointed in Jenna for cheating and then lying about why she'd broken up with Jake. Jake found out about the cheating within a few days through mutual friends. He was devastated and angry, not just about the affair, but about being deceived about why their relationship had ended. He'd spent months wondering what he'd done wrong and trying to figure out how to win Jenna back. Jenna was absolutely furious when she realized I'd told people about her secret. She called me crying and screaming, saying I'd destroyed her reputation and relationships out of spite. She said revealing her secret was a complete betrayal of trust and showed that I'd never really been her friend. I told Jenna that she'd forced me to defend myself when she threatened to spread lies about my character. I said she couldn't expect me to protect her secrets while she attacked my trustworthiness and integrity. The fallout has been extensive. Several friends have taken sides in the conflict, with some supporting Jenna and others supporting me. Jake has been reaching out to people asking for more details about the affair and whether anyone else knew about it. Jenna's family has gotten involved because Jake contacted them looking for answers. Jenna has been posting things on social media about betrayal and fake friends, clearly directed at me. She's been telling people that I revealed her private information to hurt her, leaving out the context of her attacks on my character and threats to damage my reputation. Some of our friends think I went too far by revealing Jenna's secret, even though she was being hypocritical and manipulative. They say that breaking a confidence is always wrong, regardless of the circumstances. Others think Jenna brought it on herself by attacking my character over something so minor. I feel terrible about the whole situation and the damage it's caused to multiple relationships. I never wanted to hurt Jake or destroy Jenna's reputation, but I also felt like I had to defend myself when she was threatening to spread lies about me. That's the end of that story. Jenna created a massive drama over her friend briefly dating someone years before she even knew he existed, then attacked her character and threatened to damage her reputation. Sometimes when people try to destroy you over nothing, the truth about their own behavior becomes relevant to the conversation. The hypocrisy of questioning someone's trustworthiness while asking them to lie about your affair is just staggering. Moving on to a story about family expectations and emergency situations that'll test your patience with entitled relatives. Am I the bad person for not dropping everything for my sister's emergency? I'm 30 and work as a freelance graphic designer, which means I have some flexibility in my schedule, but also means I can't afford to turn down clients or miss deadlines. My income is unpredictable, and I have to work hard to maintain relationships with the companies that hire me regularly. My sister Amanda is 28 and has 2 young kids, ages 4 and 6. She's been a single mom for about 2 years since her divorce, and I know it's been really challenging for her to balance work and parenting. I try to help out when I can by babysitting occasionally or helping with school events when my schedule allows. Last Tuesday morning, I was in the middle of a crucial project for one of my biggest clients. I had a presentation deadline at 5 p.m. that day, and had been working on it for weeks. This was the kind of project that could lead to a long-term contract worth thousands of dollars if I impressed them. I'd been up until 2 a.m. the night before fine-tuning details, and had planned to spend Tuesday morning making final revisions. Around 9:30 a.m., Amanda called me in a panic. She said her regular babysitter had gotten sick and couldn't watch the kids, and her backup childcare options had all fallen through. She needed to be at work by 11 a.m. for an important meeting and had no one else to call. She asked if I could come over and watch her kids for the rest of the day. I told Amanda I was really sorry about her childcare emergency, but that I had a major deadline that afternoon and couldn't leave my work. I explained that this project was critically important for my business and that missing the deadline could cost me a significant client relationship. Amanda got upset and said she wouldn't be calling me if it wasn't a real emergency. She pointed out that I work from home and could probably do my computer work while watching the kids. She said she'd already missed several days of work recently due to childcare issues and couldn't afford to call out again. I tried to explain that watching 2 young children while trying to complete detailed graphic design work wasn't really feasible. I said that my work required concentration and that I'd already committed to delivering the project that day. I offered to help find alternative solutions, like calling other family members or looking into emergency childcare services. Amanda said that other family members all had regular jobs and couldn't drop everything on short notice like I could. She insisted that since I work from home, I had more flexibility than people with office jobs. She said that family should come first, and that I should be willing to adjust my schedule to help her when she was in crisis. I pointed out that just because I work from home doesn't mean my deadlines are less important than other people's work commitments. I said that freelance clients expect the same level of professionalism and reliability as any other business relationship. Amanda started crying and said she didn't know what else to do. She said her boss had already warned her about attendance issues and that missing this meeting could cost her the promotion she'd been working toward. She accused me of caring more about money than helping family. The conversation got more heated when Amanda said that since I don't have kids of my own, I couldn't possibly understand how difficult her situation was. She said that people without children should be more flexible about helping relatives who are struggling with parenting responsibilities. I told Amanda that not having children was exactly why I had to focus on building my career and maintaining client relationships. I said that my income depended entirely on meeting deadlines and delivering quality work, and that I couldn't risk damaging my professional reputation. Amanda said I was being selfish and that a few hours of babysitting wouldn't destroy my career. She pointed out that I'd helped her before and suggested that I was just making excuses because I didn't want to deal with her kids. I tried once more to suggest alternative solutions. I offered to help pay for emergency childcare or to make some calls to see if I could find someone else to help. But Amanda said it was too late to arrange something else and that I was the only option she had left. When I maintained that I couldn't watch the kids because of my deadline, Amanda got really angry. She said I was abandoning her when she needed me most, and that she couldn't believe I'd choose work over family. She accused me of being a terrible sister and said she'd never ask me for help again. Amanda ended up having to miss her work meeting and was apparently given a final warning about her attendance. She called me that evening to tell me how disappointed she was in my decision. She said that because I'd refused to help, she might lose the promotion opportunity she'd been counting on to improve her financial situation. Over the next few days, Amanda told other family members about the situation and painted it as me refusing to help her in a crisis. She left out the details about my work deadline and made it sound like I'd just chosen not to help because I didn't want to babysit. My mom called to ask why I hadn't helped Amanda when she was in such a difficult position. When I explained about my project deadline, my mom said that family emergencies should take priority over work. She suggested that one delayed project wasn't worth damaging my relationship with my sister. My dad was more understanding of my position, but he also said that maybe I could have found a way to compromise. He suggested that I might have been able to work on my project after the kids went to bed, or asked my client for a short extension. Several relatives have reached out to express their disappointment in my decision. They've said that family should stick together and that Amanda's situation as a struggling single mom should have made me more willing to sacrifice for her needs. Amanda has been cold and distant toward me since the incident. She hasn't invited me to any family gatherings and has been making passive-aggressive comments about people who can't be counted on when times get tough. She's also stopped asking me to babysit for social events, which has created awkwardness at family functions. Some of my friends think I made the right choice by protecting my professional commitments. They point out that Amanda's poor planning and lack of backup childcare options shouldn't become my emergency. Others think that family relationships are more important than work projects, and that I should have found a way to help. I feel terrible about the situation and the damage it's caused to my relationship with Amanda. I love my niece and nephew and want to be supportive of Amanda as a single mom, but I also feel like she was asking me to sacrifice something really important to my career because she hadn't adequately planned for childcare emergencies. The worst part is that I ended up finishing my project on time, and the client was extremely happy with the results. They've since offered me a long-term contract that will provide steady income for the next year. But Amanda doesn't seem to care about the professional success that came from meeting my deadline, and she still sees my choice as abandoning her. That's the end of that story. Amanda basically expected her brother to torpedo his career because she failed to plan adequate backup childcare, then launched a family guilt campaign when he prioritized his professional commitments. The assumption that working from home means unlimited availability for other people's emergencies is incredibly entitled. Sometimes being a responsible adult means maintaining your professional obligations even when family members want you to drop everything for their poor planning. Let's finish with a story about relationship boundaries and controlling behavior that'll make you appreciate healthy partnerships. Am I the bad person for refusing to delete my social media? My boyfriend Trevor and I have been dating for about 14 months now. Overall, our relationship has been pretty good, but there's been one ongoing issue that's been causing more and more conflict between us. Trevor has always been a little uncomfortable with social media. He doesn't have accounts on any platforms and thinks they're a waste of time and potentially harmful to relationships. When we first started dating, he mentioned that he found social media kind of shallow and attention-seeking, but I didn't think much of it at the time. I'm pretty active on social media, mainly Instagram and TikTok. I post pictures of my life, share things I find interesting, and keep up with friends and family through these platforms. It's been part of my routine for years, and I enjoy connecting with people and sharing experiences online. About 6 months into our relationship, Trevor started making comments about my social media use. He'd say things like how much time I spent on my phone, or suggest that I cared more about getting likes than spending quality time with him. At first, I thought he was just joking around, or maybe feeling a little neglected, but the comments became more frequent and more critical. Trevor would point out when I posted pictures of us together, saying it was weird to share private moments with strangers online. He'd ask why I needed validation from people I barely knew instead of being satisfied with our relationship. Trevor also started questioning my interactions with other people on social media. He'd ask about guys who liked my photos or commented on my posts. He wanted to know who these people were and why they were interested in my content. When I explained that most of them were just friends or acquaintances, he said it was inappropriate for men to be commenting on my pictures. The situation got more tense when Trevor asked me to stop posting pictures of myself in certain outfits. He said that some of my photos were too revealing and that posting them was disrespectful to our relationship. He said that other men were obviously looking at these pictures for the wrong reasons, and that I was encouraging inappropriate attention. I told Trevor that I wasn't posting anything inappropriate, and that I should be able to share pictures of myself without his approval. I said that if other people chose to look at my photos in a certain way, that wasn't my responsibility, or something I could control. Trevor said I was being naive about men's motivations, and that I was putting our relationship at risk by posting attractive photos of myself online. He said that committed women shouldn't be seeking attention from other men, even if it was just through social media likes and comments. About 4 months ago, Trevor started asking me to limit my social media use entirely. He suggested that I should only check my accounts once or twice a week, instead of scrolling through them daily. He said that spending less time online would be better for my mental health, and would give us more quality time together. I tried to compromise by being less active during our date nights and putting my phone away when we were spending focused time together. But Trevor said that wasn't enough, and that my overall social media presence was still a problem for him. Trevor then started suggesting that I should delete certain types of posts or avoid posting altogether for periods of time. He'd ask me not to post pictures from nights out with friends or suggest that I should remove old photos that he thought were too attention-seeking. The requests became more specific and controlling. Trevor wanted me to unfollow certain male friends and remove men from my followers list. He said that maintaining these online connections was inappropriate and that I should cut contact with anyone who might be interested in me romantically. I told Trevor that many of these people were genuine friends and that cutting them off would be weird and hurtful. I said that I trusted myself to maintain appropriate boundaries and that I'd never given him any reason to question my loyalty. Trevor said that trust wasn't the issue, but that appearances mattered and that other people might get the wrong impression about my availability. He said that truly committed partners should eliminate any potential sources of temptation or confusion. The breaking point came 6 weeks ago when Trevor asked me to delete my social media accounts entirely. He said that our relationship would be stronger without the distractions and complications that social media created. He pointed out that we'd been having ongoing conflicts about my online presence and that eliminating it would solve all these problems. I told Trevor that I wasn't willing to delete my accounts because they were important for staying connected with friends and family, especially people who lived far away. I said that social media was part of how I maintained relationships and shared experiences with people I cared about. Trevor said that if I really valued our relationship, I should be willing to make this sacrifice. He said that people managed to maintain friendships before social media existed and that there were other ways to stay in touch with people. He accused me of being addicted to online validation and said that my refusal to delete my accounts showed where my priorities really were. I tried to explain that this wasn't about being addicted to social media, but about maintaining my independence and not allowing someone else to control my choices. I said that asking me to eliminate a major part of my social life wasn't reasonable or healthy. Trevor got angry and said I was choosing strangers on the internet over our relationship. He said that couples should be willing to make sacrifices for each other, and that my refusal to compromise was selfish. He threatened to reconsider our relationship if I wouldn't take his concerns seriously. The argument escalated when Trevor said that my social media use made him question whether I was really ready for a serious relationship. He said that women who were truly committed didn't need attention from other men, and that my online behavior suggested I was still playing the field. I was furious about these accusations and told Trevor that his attempts to control my social media use were actually what was damaging our relationship. I said that trust and respect were essential in healthy partnerships, and that his behavior was showing neither. Trevor said I was being dramatic and that asking someone to eliminate unhealthy habits wasn't controlling. He compared my social media use to other addictive behaviors and said that good partners help each other overcome destructive patterns. Since that conversation, Trevor has been cold and distant. He makes passive-aggressive comments about my phone use and social media posts. When I share something online, he'll make sarcastic remarks about how important it must be for me to get likes from strangers. Trevor has also started giving me ultimatums about our relationship. He said that he can't continue dating someone who won't compromise on issues that are important to him. He's threatened to break up with me multiple times if I don't agree to at least significantly reduce my social media presence. Yesterday, Trevor said he needed a final answer about whether I was willing to delete my accounts. He said that 14 months was long enough to figure out whether I was serious about our relationship, and that my decision about social media would show him where I stood. I told Trevor that I wasn't going to delete my social media accounts, and that his continued pressure about this issue was making me question whether we were compatible. I said that healthy relationships shouldn't involve one person trying to control the other person's social interactions. Trevor said that if I chose social media over our relationship, then I was showing my true priorities. He said that he couldn't date someone who wasn't willing to make reasonable compromises for the sake of the relationship. Some of my friends think Trevor is being controlling and manipulative, and that demanding I delete my social media is a red flag for potentially abusive behavior. Others think that relationships require compromise, and that maybe I should consider limiting my online presence if it's causing problems. My sister thinks Trevor's behavior is completely unacceptable, and that no one should have to eliminate their social connections to keep a partner happy. But my mom thinks that maybe social media isn't as important as maintaining a good relationship, and that I should consider what Trevor is asking for. The whole situation has been really stressful because I care about Trevor, but I also feel like giving in to his demands would set a precedent for him controlling other aspects of my life. I worry that deleting my social media would just be the beginning of him asking me to change other things about myself. That's the end of that story. Trevor's systematic campaign to isolate his girlfriend from her social connections is textbook controlling behavior disguised as relationship concern. The escalating demands, ultimatums, and accusations show this isn't about social media at all. It's about power and control. Any partner who threatens to leave you unless you eliminate your social connections is showing exactly why you shouldn't eliminate your social connections. If you enjoyed this batch of Reddit stories and want to hear more, please leave a like and consider subscribing as I narrate stories just like these every evening. Hope to see you again tomorrow. Take care.